Welcome to Stand Up for Doctors. I'm your host, Kim Downey. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to welcome Dr. Dawn Sears. Thank you for joining us today, Dawn.
Thanks, Kim, for having me. I'm so excited that we're getting to chat again. It's great.
Yes, me too. Can never chat too much, right?
That's right. That's right.
Oh, so I usually start by saying how we met, and I believe that we connected fairly early on through LinkedIn, like last spring or summer, and occasionally commenting on each other's posts. And then I reached out directly to you at the end of October, saying that we shared the same mission of wanting to stop the hemorrhaging of physicians out of healthcare. And I said I wanted to be as effective and efficient as possible in trying to make a difference, and I thanked you for everything you're doing. And I said to let me know if you ever have time to talk. And you responded immediately and with a kind compliment. And you were thanking me for being an advocate and for reaching out. And we scheduled a Zoom. And I love talking to you. And we discussed collaborating on an article for Kevin MD, which we did. 10 things to know about your doctor that will get you better care, and that was published, and we did a podcast about it that went live about 2 hours ago.
The timing is amazing.
Exactly, and here we are again.
Yes, I love it.
So by way of introduction, Dr. Dawn Sears is an academic professor and practicing board-certified gastroenterologist, hepatologist who has focused much of her career and research into well-being of her colleagues. She was system-wide chief of well-being for several years and later spearheaded the Women's Leaders in Medicine, serving over 300 women physicians and moving the needles of engagement, retention, and burnout. She has received multiple grants and awards for her work, including AMA, AMWA, TMA, and a $150,000 grant from the Physicians Foundation. She hosts annual women's empowerment conferences, ACE and Emerge, for women physicians. We'll have time to talk about that.
Great.
As an ICF certified executive coach. She regularly works with private, institutional, and medical society associated physicians. Her goal is to stop the hemorrhaging of women physicians from healthcare. She has been a chief at multiple institutions and has served in various academic and institutional leadership roles. She currently proudly serves at Veterans Administration Gastroenterology Division in North Texas as a teacher, gastroenterologist, and coach. So that's a lot of things.
Yeah, it is a lot of things, but
That's,
I'm loving what I'm doing.
yeah, well, that's awesome. You're amazing. So today we're going to, at first I thought we'd be talking about all of the things.
Yes.
Yeah, now we might be talking about gratitude. So we're going to see where the conversation goes. So I'd like, what would you most like our audience to know about you as we begin our conversation?
That I'm fully human. I get tired, I get exhausted, I get stressed, I get joyful, I get sad, I get super excited and super passionate. So I'm just a human with all the emotions, and I let myself feel all the emotions. I'm not plastic and I don't deny my emotions. So that's the first thing I think we need to know and admit and give each other permission to do.
Yes, no, I think that's very, very important. So, did you want to talk a little about those conferences to make sure that we have time to, since one's
Sure.
coming up?
Absolutely. So we've got the Emerge conference that's coming up for women physician and dentists. It's going to be on Leap Year Day in San Antonio, and it's a 3-day conference. And we're getting together to talk about what to do when the world doesn't turn out the way you thought, when the rug gets pulled underneath you, when you have questions, am I doing it right? So we'll be having some coaching, we'll be having some small groups, we'll be having some deep discussions, but it's really for women physicians and dentists that are looking for community and looking for those who get them, where they don't have to walk in and explain themselves, but they can just show up as they are and see what they need to gain to get them to the other side successfully and thriving. There'll also be an 80s dance party. There'll be a river cruise. We'll be having fun on the river walk, as well as having deep conversations and building relationships. Last time we did this conference, it was called ACE, Authenticity, Courage, and Empowerment. And many women said this was one of the best conferences, if not the best conference they have been to. that they were able to really work on themselves and not just their medical knowledge. Because at this time in life, most of us already had the medical knowledge, but we forgot to work on ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Wow, well, that sounds terrific. And is there still room if people wanted to register?
There sure is. There is. So emerge number 4 docs. So if you type that in, you'll be there. And part of that is also our emerge virtual community, which is getting together once or twice a week. And we're talking about things like, do you have a scarcity mindset for time and money? And if you do, how do we work that out? And we're talking about how to protect yourself against litigation. We're talking about how to show up better in your career. And so we're getting some knowledge out there, but you're also in a Zoom room with other people that are going to be at the conference. So you don't walk into the conference at the end of February and go, oh, I don't know anybody. You're like, oh, there's Janie. She
Yeah.
practices up in Alaska. And there's Susan. And she just had her dog on the Zoom
Yeah.
call. So you're going to feel comfortable. And that's what it's all about.
Ah, well, that's terrific. It sounds exciting.
Thank you. Thanks for promoting it. We're super excited about it.
Yeah, yeah, no, it sounds like a lot of fun. Well, good, serious, right? Serious, all of the things again, right?
All the things, man. All the things.
Yeah, so when I asked you what was on your heart and mind to talk about tonight, and you mentioned gratitude, so why don't we go to gratitude?
Yeah, so as I was reflecting, I moved to this house in September, moved from my small town I've been in for 25 years. And so as I was going through a lot of things around the house, I was like, oh my gosh, my patients gave me these and they're so cute. And then I had a lot of patients, international patients, so they'd give me things like this and
Oh,
things like little dolls from Mexico and all kinds of amazing things just to commemorate and acknowledge, thank you, doctor, for what you did. One of them even gave me a damn it doll that when I'm frustrated, I'm supposed to bang it into the, so she knew that I was sometimes getting a little irritated with the system and why she couldn't be approved for her meds. A lot of them gave me plaques about my spirituality. I'm Christian, and so I'd get a lot of, amazing scriptures, a lot of crosses, things like that. And one of the really special gifts I got during COVID was a face mask that has Psalm 91 on it. And Psalm 91 specifically talks about protection against pestilence. And
huh?
so somebody who really knew me got that. But as I was going through some of this stuff, I just realized that we remember the bad stuff. We remember all the patients that complain. We can remember the frustrations of the near misses, but we forget to be
Mhm.
grateful sometimes. And that's really what gets us through. And if I think about all the fruit baskets and the flowers and all the things that
Mhm.
patients would bring to me, I'm like, oh my goodness, I've had an amazing career. Even as a hepatologist who talks about alcohol all day long, I had a patient bring me in strawberry wine. And I was like, I really can't accept that from my patient who I'm seeing in the liver
Right.
clinic.
Mhm.
But it was just so fun. And then I remember my folder when I left my practice of my thank you cards was
Oh,
massive.
wow.
And
Yeah.
then I looked at my complaints.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep. Yeah.
but this is what our brain remembers is the
Yep.
complaint. And so just a reminder to ourselves that when we hear all these complaints, we need to use the coaching for questions that we use. Is it true? Am I
Mhm.
really, a mess up? Do I really not know what I'm doing? Is it really true? Well, no. I
Mhm.
mean, look, I took care of how many, and maybe there were 3 unhappy patients in 25 years of practice. What if the opposite is equally and as true? Look at all the things, all the acknowledgement that we're doing good work. It is hard work, it's stressful work, it's frustrating work. But at the end of the day, we're helping way more people than the handful that's upset and very loud that our brain reminds us. And then the fourth question is it if it's true, then so what? So you can't make everybody happy. I mean, that's just how
Mhm.
the life works, the world works. If all of your kids are happy with you, you're probably not disciplining enough. I mean, if
Right.
all your patients are happy, you may be a pushover and you may be a drug dealer and not really know
Mhm.
it, or you're hoarding too many CAT scans. I don't know, but just the reality. So along those lines, I was reflecting on gratefulness, and I just wanted to, because this whole podcast is about talking to other doctors. I just wanted to express my gratitude to my colleagues and my other doctors to the OB-GYN who helped me as I was on call miscarrying, and for his empathy and sympathy of Dawn, I'm so sorry to tell you, but there was no heartbeat. And just, can I
Mhm.
give you a hug and
Mhm.
being there for me? And then the physical therapist, the first one with my daughter, who actually had the language to be able to tell me, developmentally delayed, Dawn, she's never gonna catch up. I'm like, what? But
Mhm.
I'd heard it from doctors, but not really heard it, or they didn't
Right.
communicate it well. But the physical therapist, I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I see, I see. So she was able to give me realistic expectations, what to expect from therapy for
Mhm.
my child. And that was huge. And then, of course, thank you to my PCP who was taking care of me, even though I didn't have time to take care of myself. And is the one who said, Dawn, maybe you should step down from some of these leadership roles because you're really not
Mhm.
taking care of yourself and you're turning into a skeleton of a person. And I'm
Mhm.
worried about you.
Mhm.
So thank you to him. And thank you to Phil Kane, John Irwin, Rick Erickson, Charlie Caven, so many amazing leaders who saw something in me that I didn't see in
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
And just the dozens of colleagues who trusted me to care for their wife and their kids and their parents and themselves. I mean, when your colleague asks you to care for them, as you know, Kim, it is the biggest compliment you could get.
Mhm.
And I had such an honor and privilege of being able to do that for most of my career. And then the physical therapist that was with me after I had my concussion and traumatic brain injury, and she got me through the last 4 years of endoscopy and then
Mhm.
wearing this all every day while I'm scoping, and the neck injury.
Okay.
And this was gifted to me by a patient, actually.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and because he wanted me protected. So he
Right.
took it from his
Wow.
workplace and brought it to me.
Wow.
But anyway, that physical therapist, she literally sent me a card last week just saying, I miss you. I hope you're doing well. But just
Mhm.
the bond that we have when we're in the trenches together is amazing. And then a thank you to the women physicians who trusted me with the Women Leaders in Medicine, with the ACE conference that are coming to emerge, that I get to coach, that I get to cheerlead,
Mhm.
that I get to inspire, that they already know and they already have it in them. They just forgot. And I'm just there to remind them. And then I just want to thank the next generation of doctors that are showing up anyway, because there's a lot of stuff out there about medicine being a train wreck, and people still
Mhm.
want to serve. They still want to be nurses. They still want to be therapists. They
Right.
still want to be dietitians. They still want to be pharmacists and physicians. So they don't want to accept what we accepted. They want to do it in a different way with more boundaries and do it more humanely. And kudos to you, kudos to the next generation that's demanding better treatment, fair wages, fair hours, and not being put in situations of patient harm. So thank you for them standing up and being brave, even though they're vulnerable. And of course, thank you to all the patients who trusted me with their deepest, darkest secrets and trusted me during many, many, many of them in the passage of from life to death. And during the scariest moments of their life, intimate conversations that themselves and their families are never going to forget. But that is sacred, sacred ground. So I don't take that lightly. And I have
Right.
ultimate gratitude to them.
Right. Wow, that's really beautiful.
Thank you.
That's really nice. And sometimes it's hard for people to find the gratitude, I guess, depending on the day. Do you have any suggestions or advice for people that might find it difficult to cultivate gratitude?
Absolutely. So the biggest thing that I tell people, and I am known for gifting it regularly, is a gratitude journal. It's just
Mhm.
written as 5 line or a line a day is what it's called, but there's 5 different days. So it follows you for 5 years. So on today, you'll write down 3 things you're grateful for. I don't care how bad of a day it was. You're grateful your car started. You're grateful
Mhm.
for the breath in your lungs. You're grateful for your hair not falling out today. I don't know, but you are grateful for at least 3 things and one hope for tomorrow. And that way, when you write it down right before you go to sleep, it's a thought download that puts you in a positive mindset. Otherwise, you're spinning, you're still thinking about the conversation you have with Brad, and you're so frustrated at that patient, and why didn't pathology get that report out, and blah, 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 blah. But if you're grateful, you calm yourself down and you're focused on something positive. Then a year from now, you're able to compare yourself where you were last year, and you will
Mhm.
see you're always winning. Because if you compare
Mhm.
yourself on social
Right.
media, you're going to feel like you're losing. You compare yourself on the media, you're going to feel like a total loser. But if you
Right.
compare yourself to who you were last year, you see the growth that you've had. You see the progress in your life. You see the things you were worried about and hopeful for, and how the world, the universe, and everything has come together to serve you, because chances are that hope you had was
Mhm.
fulfilled. And it's just really, really cool exercise that I've never had anybody regret doing and say, oh, I wish I wasn't doing that gratitude journal at the
Yeah.
same time.
Right. That's great. Can you think of any stories of someone you've coached who started a gratitude journal and then maybe shared some positive results with you?
Yeah, definitely. There's so many of them, especially when they're looking at transitions, when they were terrified of, I can never leave this position, I can never step down, and I'm so worried about it. And they were grateful that they were still employed. They were grateful that they had a choice. They were grateful that they had an interview. And then being able to see 6 months later, they're like, oh my gosh, look at how nervous I was. And I'm so
Mm,
glad I left. And this is a much better environment. And, and then they'll tell me, thank you for walking beside me during a really scary time where I didn't know I could be grateful for the situation because it felt so
mhm,
dark and miserable and sad and out of control. But in reality, they had more control. They just forgot.
mhm. Right, exactly. That's what I've said and learned recently is that we all have more control than we think we do. Yeah.
Mhm.
Is there any other examples that you would like to speak to that?
I think there's just examples of loss and making it through loss. That one of my friends was doing the gratitude journal as she was losing a parent through a long illness. And then being able to focus on gratitude during that time, that she had so many questions and so frustrated. And then a few months later, she was like, that was really good because it captured my thoughts through the journey. And
Mhm,
then when she did pass after her illness and we were able to have closure, I was able to look back and go, oh my gosh, these are all the memories I was reflecting on during the journey that made it a beautiful exit that was very sad and breaking my heart. But at the same time, I was celebrating her. And so
mhm,
it allows us to live in that dichotomy that we always have, where life's always 50-50. There's always amazing
mhm,
and horrible stuff happening, but it
mhm,
forces you to think about the good, because the horrible stuff your brain will not let you forget. You don't have to remind yourself, but when you actively write it, you do focus on it and it becomes bigger.
mhm. Right. Sometimes I think there is something to be said about bringing it like through your brain, out your arm and out your hand and onto paper, right?
Completely. It's so therapeutic. I highly recommend it for everybody, no matter your walk of life. And for myself, I've used it a lot through having a child with special needs, and where you see the victories are so slow. And as you know, as a physical therapist, the milestones are so slow to finally get them to pile one block on top of another. And you think,
Mhm,
am I getting anywhere? But if you're actually journaling along the way, you see it. Same thing when you're going through a long track like medical training. You're like, will this ever end? And if
mhm, right,
you're journaling it, you're like, oh my gosh, look at all the information I learned. Look at all these drugs that I didn't even know existed. And now I'm mastering them and I know their side effects and interactions and everything else. So
right.
you're able to give yourself a lot more credit that way when you document it and journal it.
Right. And it can just take a minute or so a night, right? It's not like you have to spend a half hour every night.
Please don't. No, I just keep it on my pillow and then I just jot it down real fast. Don't do it on your phone, the blue light, all that kind of stuff is going to
Mhm.
activate your brain. And then the other thing is just keeping the mementos like my patients gave me around the house. And so looking for them tonight, it was kind of fun. I was able to come across my concert ticket stubs of seeing Whitney Houston in 1987.
Oh my goodness.
So delightful things like that. Here's Cyndi Lauper, here's
Wow.
Billy Joel, and so I'm like, what? I wouldn't have come across, I didn't even remember seeing Whitney Houston,
Okay.
honestly. I'm just like, I saw her in concert. Who knew? But But just sometimes exploring what you have and looking back in those drawers to find those little mementos, and you go, oh my gosh, I've had such a rich life. And you're not
Mhm.
gonna remember it necessarily unless you go digging. So sometimes we need to just clean out the closets or move. So that it forces us to explore all the beauty of all the interactions and all the relationships we've had through the years.
Mhm. Man, wow, that's beautiful. I love that. So how long have you been a coach?
I've been a coach for 3 years. So started that kind of during COVID. So it was a result of me interacting with a coach and also going through an unexpected divorce at the same time and having my mindset say, he stole X number of dollars. Go through coaching. Wait, I went through, is it true? Is it absolutely true? The opposite. And then when I got to the opposite, I was like, oh, he made me so much money because now he's no longer spending my paychecks. Oh my
Right.
gosh. And so it's like coaching's magic. If I can change one
Right.
thought, I can change he's a jerk and so
Mhm.
and so was rude to me. I can change every thought. And so capturing my thoughts and transforming them into positive, I had to do something with that. And so I got coach training and I realized that I was kind of coaching, but didn't really understand the language behind it. And a lot of what I did of mentoring hundreds of women physicians through tough
Mhm.
times. So once I got the professional training, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this like all the
Mhm.
time. And being able to do it for organizations like the American College of Gastroenterology, the US Army, different institutions. And now I get paid at the VA to coach my colleagues and the trainees as a half day a week. And it's just like a dream job that I get to coach my colleagues and the people I'm working with so they show up better at work. So I'm actually reaping the benefit for the first time. Because I usually coach people who are on the other side of the nation or the other side of the world. So,
Right,
so this
right,
is fun
right.
when they're two doors down. I'm like, oh wow.
Right, that's wonderful. Could you think you could give an example, either a real or made up one with those 4 steps? Because not everyone listening will be familiar with coaching, and then that, like, is it true? Is the opposite true? Maybe just give a like a real life example.
Yeah, yeah. The most common one is so and so's a jerk. I'm like, okay, Joe's a jerk. Is that true? Well, I mean, he acts like a jerk to me. Okay, is it absolutely true? Well, I don't know. He acted like a jerk to me yesterday. Okay. What if the opposite is equally and as true? Well, maybe Joe's a really nice guy, but he just buried his wife, or his dog died, or he's about to be fired, or maybe you did something that just happened to trigger him and you acted just like his ex wife. I don't know what it was. And if it's true, so what? If Joe's a jerk, are you going to show up being rude and hostile and compromise your position on the team or risk a patient complaint? Is that worth it? Or should we just
Mhm.
let Joe be a jerk? Because maybe Joe just is a jerk. And
Mhm.
so that's the questions you go through. Is it true? Is it really true? What if the opposite is equally and as true? And if it's true, so what? And most of the time you go to those last two questions and you're like, oh, why in the world am I giving this thought so much brain space? And then
Mhm.
you dismiss it, and then the whole world is prettier, the birds are chirping, the sun is brighter, everything, everything is good. It's
Right.
magic.
What is interesting, I think that maybe the first time I heard that was before I met Dr. Michael Hirsch. I was reading his blog, and he, had shared a blog that was something like that, and it was about, or somebody's cutting you off, right? When you're driving, and he's like, instead of thinking all the worst things, you could be thinking, oh, what if they're running home to their sick relative or something like that. And at first I was like, well, if that's not true, like, what's the purpose of like making things up that might not be true in your head? But if you're painting them more in a positive light and it changes your own brain, like, go ahead, you could speak to that a little bit yourself.
Absolutely. You show up as such a better person, and you show up as the person you want to be, and the person you're proud
Mhm.
of, and the person you want to model for your team members or your kids or even your dog or whatever. If you're showing up as a kind, compassionate person who has empathy and curiosity, you're never going to regret that. I mean, you're not going to be a pushover, obviously, but if just the thoughts in your head are geared differently, then you're going to show up differently, and it can be beautiful. So it's Byron Katie's The Work is where it comes from,
Mhm.
those four questions. So it's a great read and just a great way to function through life, especially if you find yourself really in a funk and you're feeling like more and more people are like, why are you so negative? Why are you so down? You're like, what do you mean? I don't know the negative. I'm just a realist. And then you go,
Mhm.
oh, wait, maybe I'm a little more negative than I need to be.
Right, right. No, it really does, you change your thoughts and you change your life, right?
You do,
Do you have
absolutely.
any other, great coaching wisdom that you'd like to share? Any?
Showing up with curiosity is really the biggest thing. So when someone treats you poorly, whether it's driving or at work or and the patients, immediately saying, what is the story I am telling myself? And
Mhm,
if it's this person's a jerk and then you go, wait, is that a productive story? Are
mm,
there any other possibilities? And once
mhm,
you go with curiosity, and like you said, are there other possibilities for why they cut me off at the on the highway? You just show up differently. So really,
mhm,
it's not that complicated. It's just about pausing that auto. We automatically go to judging, this is unfair, I'm the victim, why are they attacking me? Instead of, oh, I wonder what's behind that behavior. And once you
mhm,
pause and ask and even journal it out,
mhm,
I'm feeling this way because so and so treated me so bad, da 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 da. Okay, now write it as facts.
mhm,
I'm feeling bad, so and so yelled at me. Oh, why could they have yelled at you? Oh, they are triggered because blah, blah, blah. Or they might be triggered because blah, blah, blah. So if you write it out like a newspaper article of just the facts and take the emotion out of it and take your
mhm,
own triggering out of it, it can help. And also just noticing if you're extra triggered, then why are you extra triggered or activated or having big feelings? Sometimes
right,
it's because somebody's reminding you of treating you, making you feel small, like when your dad was yelling at you when you were 4 years old, or when your best friend betrayed you, or when your ex left you, or whatever. And you go, oh, this is called transference. I remember
mhm.
learning about this in psychology. This has nothing to do with Sharon. I'm really mad at Karen. Okay, not Sharon. So sometimes it takes some introspection.
Right, right. Wow. Well, this is all good stuff. Now, it's interesting because even people that have a lot of experience as a coach benefit from having a coach themselves. So even when you know all the tools and the tricks, how come it's still so difficult to do it for yourself?
Because we were not raised this way. We were raised to throw a fit or shut up. And most of us, it was shut up. It was just bottle it in, be a good girl, be quiet, don't deal with it. So we just fester and we go, I'm so upset
Mhm,
and I must be doing it wrong. I feel so negative. I feel so bad, but I don't want to feel bad. But feeling bad is bad. And so now I feel even worse. And, and then we get just stuck in our own head. So when you finally learn these tools as a 50-year-old, they're new tools. It's like saying, why can't we play, beautiful piano when you just learned at 50? Well, if we'd
mhm,
been learning since we were 12, then we'd be much better at this, but we weren't. And
mhm,
so giving ourselves grace of, I am going to need a coach. Just like if I started playing the piano right now, I would need a lot of
mhm.
lessons, or if I
Right,
started downhill
right.
skiing or anything else that's a new skill,
Right, right.
because
That's a
we
really good point. Like any new skill, right? I think that's, yeah, a really good point.
yeah, because we've gotten away with it without doing it that way, with just being stuck in our own head. We've wasted so much time. But once you've gotten yourself permission to, I'm not going to do that anymore, you don't want to
Mhm.
do that anymore. So you want to call your coach. And I have 3 coaches and I call them up regularly. And I'm like, I know I should get out of this thought. I know it's not serving me well. I know I should be more curious, but today I'm stuck. Can you help me?
Right.
And they're like, absolutely. And that's the beauty is if you're a coach and you're getting coached, it literally can probably take 3 to 8 minutes to get you coached out of it. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm
Okay.
done. That's all I need. I just need a
Okay.
little tune up. I don't need the full wash of the car. I just need a
Yeah.
little buff.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you have any top tips that you'd like to share for your colleagues from seasoned physicians to medical students and even those considering medical school.
Yeah. For those that are considering medical school, giving yourself grace and knowing that you don't have to know it all. You're not supposed to know it all. It is a long journey for a reason.
Mhm.
and protect yourself, protect your boundaries, and protect who you are. Medicine can be all encompassing, and it is super easy to lose all your friends, lose your life, lose your hobbies, lose your interests. So protect who you are at a core. Keep playing the piano if that's your thing, or if it's tennis or jogging or whatever, keep doing it. For those that are out there as my colleagues, I see you. I know that this is stressful, and I invite you to go back in your drawer that has your thank you cards and review those again. And your complaint folder, rip it up. You already know who complained about you. Don't keep it around. It is not good for you. And then for those that are older and are just, coasting or even considering leaving medicine, review all your victories, because you've had a ton of victories. You've impacted so many people. You've had so many great diagnoses, so many great shares, and you probably forgot. And if you go back through some of your files and remind yourself of some of the amazing people or some of the lives you've impacted, the cards that you've received, the funerals you may have gone to. I just came across my last thank you card from my work before I left my job. And he was somebody who I did save his life. And he says, I wouldn't be here without you. Got him a liver transplant as his wife was dying. And she waited until he had a match before she died. And 3 days after the transplant, she died. And it was just the sweetest thing. And then when he died, I was able to be at his house, reading and singing over him. And it was just the most beautiful thing. And to know that this man is precious to my heart, and he sent me a thank you card even after I left the institution, just to say, thank you, I love you, and you've made an impact on me. We do that all the time, and this is precious. So just remind yourself, there's more precious people that you're supposed to meet. So don't bail out yet if it's still in you to keep serving.
I love that. And we do need doctors, so we have to find ways to make this better for everybody, right?
Yes, thank you for all your hard work, Kim. I have so much gratitude for you being out there fighting. You don't have to, you don't need to, but you want to, and that is amazing. So thank you for your time, energy, and commitment to this amazing, amazing whole mission, and for doing this podcast, for getting people inspired.
Oh, sure. Well, you're welcome, and I'm grateful for all of you, very much so. So thank you.
Our pleasure, our pleasure.
So, okay. So how can our listeners get in touch with you?
You can find me at Gut Girl MD on Twitter, or you can find me at Gut Girl MD Consulting. And there I talk about keynotes that I give, group coaching, one-on-one coaching, as well as institution programs if you want to start a women in medicine. And then, of course, you can find me LinkedIn at just my regular name, Dawn Sears MD.
Okay, that's great. And people know they can find me on LinkedIn. So I'd love to hear from you. So please click like and subscribe. I've got many more great guests to come. And so thank you one more time for being my guest. I just loved having you and get another opportunity for us to chat.
Well, thanks for working with me, and thanks for collaborating with me on the Kevin MD article. It was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
that was great. So in closing, to move the needle in healthcare, we all need to raise our voices, and we all need to care about each other. We already know that doctors need to care about patients. Patients need to care about doctors too. So stand up, doctors, and let's stand up for doctors.